Where are we? There we are. Good morning, party people. Howdy, folks. It's freaking finally Friday. Holy smokes. Normally this week it's just my weeks are kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it feels like they either go, whoa, thank you, Botsko. I'm actually surprised. I just finally got with my graphic designer and got the alignments to work right. So welcome to the club, Botsko. I appreciate it. And it feels like my weeks are like one extreme or the other. It feels like half the time they're just like, they absolutely fly by, and then the other half the time they're like dragging through in slow motion. Oh my God, oh, it's like a chain of people inside here. Matan, good to see you. Matan on Facebook. Now, there is not wine in here yet. There will be very soon. I just finished my work for today. It is 7:01 in the morning San Diego time, and I'm done for the day, which is kind of awesome. I love when I have clients over on the East Coast, and today was a findings delivery day, so where I delivered findings to folks, and I was like, okay, so here's what's going on your SQL Server. Here are the things to be aware of. Here are the things to work on. And that one was a pretty straightforward, short, simple finding. So normally I keep several hours on the calendar clear just in case things have to go in deep. And I don't. So now I'm a free man for the weekend, which is kind of nice. Next week I'm doing remote training for a company in North. Yeah, I get it. You're very excited about Friday. That's very cool. That's very cool. Richie says it was slow because I was off this week. So it's funny, Richie, so I owe you like a whole bunch of, I've been thinking in my mind, like, okay, what are all the things that I got to do to lay out stuff for Richie for next? I should probably open up GitHub and like show people, that's actually not a bad idea for a stream for this weekend, like showing down. All right, SQL DBA Helpline, you have earned yourself a mute on that one so that I don't have to keep seeing that Happy Friday stuff. Hal from Holland, good to hear from you. So yes, and so now I'm down to just plain water inside here, just plain hot water, because my coffee shop downstairs, well, not mine, but you know what I mean, opens in at the top of the next hour, so at 8 a.m. San Diego, and I'll be going down there and getting myself bagel and smoked salmon and all that good stuff. So. But in the meantime, I need to write a blog post. Oh, Gabrielle, this is the sun shines in Verona at 4 p.m. Nice. Belfast, Bristol. Wow. Bristol, now, so as a car person, I totally recognize Bristol as of like the AC Bristols. Y'all have a history over there. That's kind of cool. Lee says, I'm obviously not the most excited person about Friday. Yeah, it comes and goes. Depends, especially as a database person. Some weeks are better than others. And it's also nice that now things are starting to open up a little in San Diego. It's true, I might actually be able to get my car washed. Just got my car back from service. It was the first oil change. I've had it since the 4th of July. Helmet, my 911 is now coming up. The DeLorean, that's true. I forget about that whole history. That's kind of sordid. Greetings from Toronto. But yeah, I just got my 911 back, and so first oil change, I've only had 2,500 miles across the span of the first entire year. I normally don't drive a lot because, of course, I telecommute. But we usually, Erica and I do road trips all the time. So we wanted to do like a road trip to Vegas and a road trip going up to Malibu and things like that. Not now. I'm in here just like glued to the window, just watching to see, is it okay yet? I'm not in any kind of itch and rush to get out and go travel. Lee says he's not on call from 5:30 p.m. forward. That was my biggest happy moment in databases when I gave up the pager, so to speak. Not like, children these days don't know what a pager is, but giving up the on-call thing so I didn't have to worry about, being drunk, frankly. Kildare, Ireland, very pretty. I really want to get over there at some point. Oh, Big Mike, thank you, Big Mike. Good to see you in here too, as well. Man, Mike, you just can't get enough of me, can you? Just all the time. Of course, it's fun to have this stuff on in the background too while you work. It's kind of amusing. So Richie says, just in case you wondered, my daughter's sock stench gets worse exponentially the more you put them together. So Richie's on the road for a week with his daughter in Orlando. They're doing a soccer camp. Richie, I never thought about that, but yeah, laundry becomes a real problem when you're on the road for a week because she's obviously, doing all kinds of athletic stuff. Oh, yeah, man. That's kind of nasty. You complete me. Oh, Mike, thank you. Thank you. So let's see here. So the thing I wanted to knock out this morning was I have a decent amount of blog posts in the queue, but because I got done a little early with my client, I'm like, oh, I got like an hour. I could go write a blog post. And so what am I going to write a blog post about? Now, of course, I'm not going to ask you. There may be a point where I ask you, but I'm not going to ask you just yet. Let me show you how I keep track of the existing ideas that I have for blog posts coming up, and then we'll go through and figure out if we want to choose one. So I have a GitHub repo of all bizarre things. I want to say it was either Jeremiah or Kendra who originally started this at a company. For a while, we had a text file where we would go and keep blog post ideas in. And for another while, I did Remember the Milk. I did blog post ideas inside there. And then we got the idea to go through and do a GitHub repo where the entire team could check in or add issues for blog posts that they wanted to see created. Obviously, I do not make this a public GitHub repo because I don't want y'all just saying, Brent, I need you to blog about this. But these are the things that I get excited about in terms of blogging. Hi, Deepthi. So this is just a list, and I could go, oh, Richie. Oh, yeah, we are totally not going there. I've been sworn to not blog about anything anywhere nearly related to that, and I am not about to start now. So just a few ideas of things that I've thought, oh, it would be really cool to go and add these. Some of them are nothing more than like a BuzzFeed style headline. So I've got in here like the 10 biggest problems in SQL Server. Things that I love Remember the Milk too. It's so useful. I still use it to this day. But the N biggest problems in SQL Server being just like a BuzzFeed kind of, hey, here are the things that concern me a lot. Here are the things that I wish we could fix. And I probably even started putting lists inside there too. So like if I click on there, and I should edit this to make it a little bit more bullet point friendly. So the biggest problems in SQL Server, yeah, I agree with that. Not doing backups, not checking for corruption, not patching. Boy, that's actually not a bad idea for a blog post. And I love... let's put enters on those and just kind of update that comment. Hi, folks. Good to see you. So I kind of like this one. I don't know that I really feel like writing that blog post today. We'll see. That might be one that we get interested in. Let's see. Why you lose support when you add an index. I used to work as a software vendor, and we would have problems when people added indexes to their tables because our deployment scripts didn't always handle them elegantly. Like our deployment scripts would assume that certain indexes exist or don't exist. Necroduct not monitoring, that's an interesting one. For me, that's not the biggest problem in SQL Server. The biggest problem with SQL Server around monitoring is that people monitor, and then what do y'all do with the emails that come in from monitoring apps? When you install a monitoring app and it starts sending you emails, what's the first thing you do? I'm curious. Let's see what your answer is. Yeah, drop table employee says spam. Yeah, so what do you do with those? When you set up any kind of monitoring tool, doesn't really matter which one it is. What's one of the first things that you do after the emails start coming in? Yep, you got it. Homer. Exactly. People filter them and they put them into a folder. And you know what they do after they put in an email rule and redirect? Peter, you nailed it. All of y'all, and you're not alone. This is everybody out there that I see. They go, oh, that's really interesting. And then they move it into a folder. And then what do you do when it's inside the folder? You're like, I'll look at it someday. Exactly. Dwayne Lamb says, I delete the folder, empty that folder without even looking. Or nothing. That's another great one from Botsko. People just, Camaro, good to see you again. I love that thing. I need to move that around so that the subscription notice is up higher than the other ones. Let me move that real quick so when folks like Camaro subscribe, that it doesn't show up lower than the rest. So I think I got that now. And so who was it? Bob the Lobster. Bob, that's a great name. That's really cool. Bob the Lobster over on Facebook says, I read the folder. I don't actually believe that, Bob, but I like your name, so I'll give you like half point credit. I I have this weird thing where almost all the DBAs that I see, they all feel guilty about that. And I'm like, no, that's not your fault. When most monitoring tools go in, they want to spam you. They want to be like, look at all the things I monitor. I am king of everything. And they're just spamming you. Yeah, like Egbert says, I configure it using someone else's email. So I don't think, for me, monitoring isn't the problem. The problem for me is that people just set up these filters and then they never bother reading whatever's in the folder. Look, if you want spam, if you want to get a whole bunch of emails that just tell you all kinds of stuff, go sign up for my newsletter. Because then at that point, I'll send you all kinds of stuff. I'll send you all kinds of stuff that you didn't want. That's only partly a joke. So anyway, back over here into my blog post. When you say read vertically, I wonder if that's a pun on virtually. That's kind of interesting there. So that's one. So we got the SQL Server 2019 TempDB enhancements. In a recent stream, you saw me purposely try to break TempDB, writing all kinds of bad code. We actually had a really bad time. SQL Server just by default does really well in TempDB. So I think I'm actually going to delete that one. I don't think I'm going to go digger into that. So here is the thing that I was going to do. I'll let y'all read that for a second before I go and delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Tried this on a live stream, but couldn't write a realistic query that broke TempDB. Don't want to do it with a synthetic one. Necrodux asks a good question. Is 2019, does it still have a public toilet for TempDB? Yeah, optionally, you can opt into making things like the version store happen inside of a user database. That introduces new problems. 2019 CU1 had a corruption issue around that feature, though, so I haven't been blogging about that because Microsoft has had this in CU1. Said, hey, we fixed a corruption feature, a corruption bug involving that feature, and then they pulled the line out of the knowledge base article. So I don't know if it's actually been fixed or if the corruption still happens or if they were ashamed to admit about the corruption or what. But I'm like, until you can be honest about what bugs are in there, I'm going to kind of hold off. So I haven't been blogging about that one. Let's see here. Myths about no-lock. I'm not too interested in that one. This is kind of amusing. Everyone needs to work on an SCP. Evil Homer dude. So my thing with CPUs is just that if you go down the route of CPUs, you're kind of missing the point with performance tuning. Because how often do you really buy CPUs? Is it something that you do like once a month or once a quarter? Or is it something that you do like once a year or every 3 years? For the clients that I have who are in the cloud, they make that decision fairly often, but Epic CPUs just aren't something that are commonly available up in the cloud because you can restart in a different CPU type if you want. But Chief Surgeon says, can you promise that you'll survive the experiment? Dude, some people will walk into that and they'll realize they don't actually want to be a database administrator. But it teaches you so many things about, like, SAP databases will have tens of thousands of objects in them. You can't just expand the list of objects inside Object Explorer. SQL Server Management Studio will just chunk. You can't just write normal stored procedures. You have to worry about case sensitivity, non-case sensitivity, etc. Jim says, fast CPUs enable bad code or bloatware. Bad code is coming regardless of what CPUs you have. So I used to have that feeling too as a database administrator. I'm going to run slow machines in development so that my developers know that they got to write fast code. You know what happens instead? Your developers just go, oh, it doesn't matter if I write good code or not. That development server sucks butt wind. So I don't even have to bother testing anything on there. So it kind of backfires bad. So just be careful about that one. Date tables, I'm not, delete a few rows from a big table. I actually wrote that one. I wanted to build dynamic. So I'm going to edit the title of that. Give the readers dynamic SQL that will delete a few rows from a big table. I am not doing that today, Satan, not when I've only got like 45 minutes left. Converting, I am not writing this. So I've run into this problem a few times. So I've run into a problem where people have non-clustered primary keys, and then they ended up needing to convert them to clustered primary keys. I've thought about a problem where I want to give them a script that will automatically do it for them, but you know what? There's so many edge cases there, and then I'm going to have to answer support calls on it. Peter, Peter, I wasn't referring to you, but yes, that's also y'all as well, which is kind of funny. Which, you know, it's kind of true too. When I work with clients, very often I'll have an idea for a blog post and I have to put it into that list because I can't blog it right away because the client will know that it's about them, and I don't want to like shame them publicly. I don't want them to feel like they were a terrible example. So true story. So I had that blog post go live this week about page life expectancy. I said page life expectancy is a garbage metric. You got to stop monitoring that thing. I'm pulling it out of SP Blitz first because it's distracting people. The reason why I wrote that is I had like a stint like a month or two ago where I had 3 clients in a row that were all like, I'm only monitoring page life expectancy and nothing else, and here's what I've learned, and I haven't figured out what the problem is, so I'm calling you. So I'm like, well, of course you haven't, because page life expectancy doesn't tell you crap when you're trying to do root cause analysis. It's a lagging indicator. So I had like 3 in a row. I write this blog post. I schedule it for like a month out in the future because I don't want any of those people to feel bad. And then the post is getting ready to go live. What do I get? I get another client who's doing exactly the same thing. And I'm laughing about it. I'm like, look, in the discovery call, I'm like, look, let me tell you something. There's a blog post about to go live about this specific anti-pattern. It's not you. And I wanted to show them the blog post just to prove it. Look, it's already written. It wasn't specifically about you. So let's see here. Converting that, I'm just going to say I'm not going to support this, so I wouldn't publish the blog post. A blog post on it. And close that little thing. Problem life expectancy. That's not bad. That's not bad. Richie, but see, you know what, Richie? I feel guilty assigning you any blog because you don't seem to like writing blog posts. And if you don't like doing something, I don't want to make you do it. Lord knows we have enough work that you do seem to want to do, that you enjoy doing, and that we need to have done. So I'm like, why should I make you do something you don't really want to do? Bob the Lobster, what about availability groups on Azure for Dummies? So that's an interesting question. So the thing is, with always-on availability groups, when always-on availability groups came out, I was madly in love with them. I consulted on them for a while. I focused on them very deeply. But what I learned over time, so as we went from 2012 to 2014 to 2016, and Jedi Mind Gorilla, good to see you again too, Jedi Mind Gorilla. So as we went towards 2016, 2017, when Microsoft started bringing out availability groups for Linux, I'm like, nothing against Linux. Linux is the whole reason that I moved to a Mac, was I was trying to get better at terminal and command line type stuff for Linux. I'm a huge believer in it. It's the future, yada, yada. But the thing is where I hang exactly, this is where, and Richie's not even at work. Richie's on vacation today. Today's a company vacation day for Juneteenth, but here we are. We're both here. So it's not really work. You know, it's kind of, I to some extent this is work, but sure doesn't feel like work. You know, so it's Friday afternoon or Friday morning, whatever. But availability groups on Linux came out, and I was like, and then they Kubernetes, and I'm like, it just doesn't call to me. And distributed availability groups, all these kinds of problems start to pile in. I don't want to be good at any of those things. I don't enjoy those things. It's not fun to me. And if you're good at availability groups, what do you end up having done? You get being on call. People are calling you because the availability group is down because we're having a problem with the cluster, we're having a problem with Linux, we're having a problem with Kubernetes. I don't ever want to be on call again. I want to go get drunk. I want to go get drunk and sit on a beach somewhere and just chill out. I don't want to be connected 24/7 and be on call. So that's why I kind of gave up availability groups. So you said availability groups on stuff like Azure, and I'm like, I can't hit unsubscribe fast enough from that newsletter. I'm just so totally not interested. Not the DBA you're looking for. Never heard of Juneteenth. It's something that we should all know more about. It's really cool. I don't think I knew about it until like a year or two ago, and it's very, very cool. CGS, I hear Iceland is open again for visitors. When I read the news, I don't actually read United States news. Because news about wherever I actually live, it has nothing to do with who's in power politically. It's just I don't ever want to read the facts about what's going on where I live. I want to read about the facts somewhere else that has its own interesting problems. It's like escapism. So I read the Iceland news from like 3 different news letters every day: the Monitor, Reykjavik Grapevine, a few of them. And so I've been so obsessed with Iceland. There will be a long time in my life, like I'm still thinking of this every day. I wish we would have stayed. I wish we would have stayed in Iceland and fought out the quarantines and all that there, because it's amazing. They're doing fantastic. Okay, that's fair. Jedi Mind Gorilla said, I do not want to visit a place with ice in the name. I want Wineland to open. So here's the thing. Iceland is green. Greenland is ice. It's actually kind of backwards. Iceland is gorgeous. It's utterly beautiful. Now look, a lot of the pictures that I sent are really cold, but we went to the middle of winter on purpose, so. Venice, yeah, Venice is, that's a good point. Venice has ice in the name, and I would totally be very interested in that. VTOL Freak, good to see you. I haven't been in here in a couple of streams here. First thing I hear is Brent saying, I want to get drunk. That is not unusual. That is not unusual at all. To deter. Oh, Mike Shaw, you're in Florida. We're not handling COVID well. I mean, really, do you think any place is handling COVID well, other than like maybe Iceland? But it's so much easier when you hear people go, oh, everyone should do what Iceland and Korea did. They're islands. Of course, they have the luxury of handling things completely differently. And Iceland, it hit in the exact opposite of tourist season. Like Erica and I were there because we wanted to go see the winter and drive the ring road and all this in the winter. But you wouldn't want to be there then. So of course it was like, having some kind of pandemic hit in the middle of nowhere at the worst time to be in the middle of nowhere. Of course they had an easy time with it. So that wasn't really fair. CGS is good. New York is handling COVID well after chaos ensued. I don't know. It's kind of tricky. So, all right. So let's go back over here and see what else we got in terms of blog posts. And who knows, I may not even make any blog posts before my thing opens up downstairs. My coffee shop opens up downstairs. Let's see what else we got inside here. Oh, man, these two I really want to do so bad. And you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to go look at it now. We'll look at it together because y'all will get a hoot out of this. So you may have heard of the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine is a internet archive where you can go put in website URLs, and they've crawled these things over time, and they keep archive copies of websites. So I've always loved reading old versions of books online. I got like SQL Server 4, 5, or 4, 6, 7 versions over in the closet, and I love reading some of the old documentation because it takes me back to what jobs were like before I got involved. So what I was like is, let's go see what jobs looked like, and what, especially like SQL Server job postings from 20 years ago, and see what they were like and see what people were looking for and all that. Scott, I know that breaks my heart. That would be really a bummer. And I watch Isle of Man news continuously all the time too as well. Just so much fun to go through and read that. So let's do it. Let's go hit the Wayback Machine. And the first one I'll do, because it's going to be kind of funny, the first one I'll do is brentozar.com. So, and it's funny, it has autocomplete inside there, because that's weird, because I haven't been to this one. I've been in my outside machine. This is a Windows VM just that I use for presenting. All right, so when it's all the archives that it's had back through time, let's go back through 2001. And then let's say, I loved that when that hit. That was so funny. I laughed really. And Necroduck, yeah, what about your website? So let's go back to what looks like the earliest one. They have August. So let's go see what it had on August of 2001. Oh, that's kind of sobering. It's right before 9/11. So I used to have, before it was brentozar.com, my blog post or my blog site was called wickedlife.com. That was the first domain name that I bought to use as like a personal brand. And I discovered over time, as I say over time, within like the first year or two, that I wanted to have a personal brand that I would grow up over time. And Wicked Life, I thought was, that's cool. I love that. I was really into the goth thing and the Cure and all those kinds of music, but I didn't want to do that full time. Wow, I've actually lost weight. Oh my goodness. I'm also not 6'4", I'm 6'3", so I've also kind of shrunk an inch. But like everything about that is still true. So my middle name was Greg because my dad was named John Gregory Ozar, and my parents debated about whether or not they would name me as John Gregory Ozar. I would have been the third, and they ended up not doing it, and so they gave me Brent Gregory Ozar instead. And I went by Greg just like my dad did for years until I went to college. Once I went to college, I switched over to Brent. But yeah. So the Polaroid photos, I used to do, like web design, Photoshop type stuff. I had a filter that I would use, and I would put the little piece of Scotch tape inside there. Unfortunately, they don't have the full-size images inside here. I've been through Wayback Machine before, too. I still have a lot of these folders it's a lot of these files. At some point, I'll go back in and I'll share these because those were a whole bunch of fun. I used to have hair all the way down to my chin. Had that when I met Erica. Looked like a giant mushroom. It didn't look good. I was going for the Colbert, or not Colbert. I was just watching Colbert. That's why I thought of it. The hell's his name? Nirvana. Kurt Cobain. Yeah, Kurt Cobain type look, except not with blonde hair. Okay, so that's what my site looked like back then. And you can go back and look at different archives through time. Let's look at something else. So let's go see what was Microsoft SQL Server's URL. Let's see if we first find just the general URL, and let's see how far back that guy goes. Paste. And then, so it looks like they have 2014. I'm going to try it without ENUS, and let's see if they have a one for that. They do. Okay, so 1999. Let's see if it has anything in there. And it may be that it's like a redirect. Oh, okay, all right. Now, will this take me to the redirect? It will. Okay, so I might be able to, let's go to the products page, and let's see on their old products page to see if we can find SQL Server. Oh, the Microsoft network. That's so awesome. It comes from the Ukraine. Comes from the Ukraine, and they dropped the K when they came over to America 4 or 5 generations ago. So let's see, alphabetical list of all products. Excellent. Let's see if this navigation actually works. SQL Workstation. Wow, forgot about that. So, okay, Wayback has not, it's an ISAPI. Oh, God. Oh, that's terrible. All right, so I'm not going to hit that. Instead, we're going to go back over to the Wayback Machine. Just to the main of the Wayback Machine. And I can't remember if you can search inside here. Yeah, okay. Microsoft SQL Server. Let's see if we get lucky and we can find it just through the search. Oh. I remember from when I was younger downloading things off of Ware's sites. So that's incredible. So there we go. So we got some stuff inside there. SQL Solutions. Oh, I think that was Paul and Kim's site. I mean, it was just Kim, I think, back then. Let's go see. Oh, no. Well, that's not good. That doesn't do me any good. So let's see what else we got. SQL Cat. Wow. The Microsoft Cat team used to have their own. Oh, man. Got a 301 blog post. Okay. So we have a redirect in here. It's possible that we're going to be able to get the redirect. Big money, no whammies. We do. No. That's new. I want to see the older versions. No, it doesn't go back that far. Okay. So much for that. Microsoft.com, win connections. SQL Server builds. Wow, that's kind of old. Oh, and you look at the histories inside there. That's kind of interesting too. All right, so let's come back up here and we'll go SQL Server DBA. We'll see if we get anything in on there. So Lakeside SQL. I don't even know what that is. So page cannot be displayed. Okay, that's all right. We'll go back to a prior capture and let's see if we catch it on a prior capture. Lakeside. Wow, I didn't even know what that was. SQL X-ray. Huh. All right, no clue on that one. That's good. Oh boy, cache hits ratio and SQL Server performance. Oh, that could be interesting just to read and talk about. As you know, one of the most important indicators of SQL Server performance is a cache hit ratio. Now, that was true back then. I mean, that was true back 10, 15 years ago. So it's really interesting to go back and see what people were obsessed with back around those same times. There was another person that reminds me of someone else who was really good with SQL Server, Brad Mcgee. I don't know that I spelled that right, SQL Server. So he had this site, SQL Server Performance, and this is one of the places that I really learned a lot about SQL Server from when I was coming up through the years. So this one, oh, that's beautiful. So now we can go back and we can see what his site looked like back around 2000. Oh, that's beautiful. Let's see. Cursors, bottlenecks. Index tuning wizard. Excellent. Very large databases. Oh, I wonder what was very large databases back then. See if we could. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, this will be wonderful. Consider a SAN for very large databases, especially if you want to do the fastest backups, restores. I loved Brad's site because it was digestible. Like I could go hit one topic and there was just one tip after another that was just small and bite-sized. There's part of me that's wistful for those day and ages of back then. That was really cool. I love that because of the sluggishness of most database operations, VLDB operations. Don't even bother trying to use Enterprise Manager. It'll appear to lock up under many operations. Instead, use stored procedures and T-SQL. Some things you can only do. Yep, that's cool. Wow. Network connection should be of the highest speed, such as 100 megabit or even 1 gigabit switched Ethernet. Oh, that's so funny because now our Wi-Fi connections are faster than that. Wow. Let's see here. Now, this is such a good example of something that made sense way back that long ago, and it just doesn't make that much sense today. Oh, that's so cool. See this online Microsoft seminar. Scott says, now I know where you get your crazy URLs. I'll go off and just randomly search for things, especially that are older, because I find them so interesting to go back and compare them over time. Now, Gabrielle says, Grant Fritchie, that's another good one, and Spaghetti DBA. Let's go see. So Grant's was scarydba.com. Let's see the oldest site recall that they have for Scary DBA. Let's see. While it comes up, I'll also go over here to Wayback Machine. And web, is it web.archive.org? Oh, no, there it goes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so 295 captures. Oh, it goes back to 2010. Oh, that's kind of cool. Let's go back and see what 2010 looked like for Grant. Oh, I remember that, how his site used to look that way. That's kind of cool. Wow. 10 years ago, traces and execution plans. Grant, that's so cool. Grant has been talking about trace being deprecated for almost a decade. That's really cool. That's neat. Why is my log file full? This still comes up today. You know, it's really funny when you and I think about what we would want to write about or what we would want to teach about. You probably are thinking, oh, it's all been done. Everyone's already written about everything before. There's no need for me to write anything. I guarantee you, I could write a blog post right now. Why is my blog file full? And I could put the transaction log error message in it, and I guarantee you it would get hits because people just keep looking for that stuff even today. I always laugh when Microsoft is like, they're like, oh, the robots are taking care of everything. You're going to be out of a job as a database administrator. And I'm like, can you handle a full log file yet? What? No. why would there be a full log file? I'm like, do you have any idea what people really run into on a daily basis? Log files filling up, data files filling up, some yo-yo set a max size on a file. We're like, they shouldn't do that. That's not best practices. Yeah, but people do. And you know what? Even when you go to the cloud and you go to things like managed instances, you run into the same damn problem because of volume size limits, because of capacity limits. It is the year 2020, and we're still worrying about how full our storage is. And I have frickin' a 1 terabyte iPad. I got an iPad with 1 terabyte worth of space on it, and I still have to deal with people who run out of space on a 100 gig database, which I would also just like to say, I don't know that she's going to focus well, but there's a sticker from Sass Christian, one of my favorite artists, and then it ends up being kind of prophetic that she's got this mask on, which was just kind of a fetish at the time, but whatever. Josh, as a junior, this is something I deal with on the weekly. Josh, when you're a senior, when you're as old as I am, you will also still be dealing with it. It is bananas how often that happens. Not the DBA you're looking for. Says, I saw that today. Log file had a max size on it on some random database. Yeah, somebody will build an application. They'll build a database change script or whatever, put it in, and they'll just never think twice about it and rock and roll on. So this is really fun. The thing that I want to go through and find with it is I not only do I want to find examples of what best practices look like back then and just have a blog post that links to a few of these funnier pages, but I also want to have SQL Server DBA job. I want to show the kinds of job descriptions that were out there. Ooh, let's see if we get lucky on this. So SQL Server DBA jobs 2004 over at monsters.com. That's pretty far back. There's also, wow, database careers. I don't know that that's a legit site though. But monster.com certainly is. So let's see if we got lucky. Oh yeah. That's kind of terrible. Let's copy paste that back out and let's go this, because that's the redirect that it was doing to. Wow, yeah, we got data from 2003. Tiger Team, I hit SQL Cat. The problem is the Tiger Team's URL kept changing, so you got to go back and find their old URL. That's the challenge. So let's see, December 2003. Let's see. Oh, beautiful. Oracle DBA, Data Analyst DBA. Here we go. SQL Server DBA. Let's click on this and see if we get lucky. Damn it, it didn't include that. But this will be the kind of thing. Oh, wow. Sybase DBA, 45 to 50 grand USD per year. SQL Server DBAs, Summit Technologies. All right, so let's go back and see if we can catch one that it did archive then. Come way back here. We'll say Microsoft, SQL Server, DBA, career, job, apply, and see if we can catch one. CW jobs. Whoa, I forgot about that. I forgot about DB forums. Wow, and they have a lot of captures. This might actually be a good shot. Nope. Oh, that's interesting. IT Pro Today, too, though. Let's see. So that, come back. So that dbforums.com, let's see if we can get to that and see its history. HTTP dbforums.com. And now you too, when you're watching this, you can kind of get a feel for why it takes so long to write a blog post like this. It's funny, the blog posts that I'm sometimes the proudest of aren't the ones that look like they took very long. They look like they're really simple and straightforward, but then when you actually go to try to write the thing, it's a ton of work. Database server software. OK Tired says, does it work better to click on the older year link? Yeah, you can click on whichever ones that you want and then go see if they work. Because sometimes you get good, easy ones. Sometimes they have like CGI scripts inside the page, so it doesn't render very well, or that the Wayback Machine didn't catch it. So we'll see if we catch just a few times through time and see if we get lucky and find one. Shell scripts, applications and tools, job opportunities. Let's see if we got lucky and it clicked on this. Supal DBA, that's not really what we're talking about inside here. We're talking about something else here today, but it's a great question, but it's something that you might want to ask on Twitter, for example. You can post it on Twitter there. Okay, so last one I'll do, Microsoft SQL Server DBA job. And let's page down and see if we can find something else that would get it. PSI Recruiting, maybe. Edgewood Solutions. Oh, they're the people who run MS SQL Tips. That might actually work. Test Kingdom Cert Expert. Oh, it's so funny. Certification used to be such a big deal. So let's come back up. Let's see. I don't think we're going to hit a career on there, though. So, yeah, I'll come back out of here. I'm going to say I spent about 15, 20 minutes on Twitch working towards this, but a lot of the links are or weren't archived correctly, so canceling this one. It's a really neat idea, but I don't think I'm going to put the time in that it would require to go through and find it. It's a neat idea, though. All right, so let's see what else. Guaranteeing uniqueness on inserts. Oh, man, so I only have like 20 minutes left. Am I actually going to be able to pull this off? Like, I'm looking for one that I can write without doing a whole lot of research. And this might actually do it here. Welcome to the club, no proc. Azure SQL DB is the new Express edition. So when I was coming up through administration, I always kind of looked at Express Edition. I was like, Express Edition's kind of limited. It only does like 1 CPU core and 1 gig of RAM. And at the time that I was coming up through, it only had like 10 gigs of data size max. And I kind of looked up my nose at that and I'm like, but then at the same time, there are a lot of people who got their whole career started with that. You can build applications just on Express Edition and make them work well, as long as they're like desktop or small groups. Like my stepmom runs a consignment store, and they have a few cash registers in there, and all the cash registers can network. So for a while, they had an application that was essentially based atop of SQL Server Express Edition. Didn't have to pay anything. Super powerful for what you get. I'm almost like, I don't know why you wouldn't start today with Azure SQL DB instead, because they manage backups. They take care of backups for you. Sure, it's not very high performance, especially in the low cost tier. But Karsten Pett says in the late 1990s, wasn't it more Access than MS SQL? It was Access on the desktop, but still for like accounting software. So I got my start through hotels, and as I was coming up through hotels, like we would use Access at the individual desktops. Or if you wanted to build a website, you could use Access on the back end. But by the time you got to the accounting server, it was already SQL Server back then. So I got my start in the late 1990s going up through hotel companies and then gradually looking. I wanted to stand near the most expensive thing in the building and just wait for it to break and go see what happens. And SQL Server ended up being that thing for me. Just you generally for career advice, if you stand near the most expensive thing and wait for it to break, you will look inexpensive in comparison. Carson Pett says, same here with WinNT 3.5 with new technology. New NT technology. When that came out, I was in college, and I was just mesmerized by the number of floppy disks that it took to install Windows NT 3.5. And I was like, oh my God, it's like 30 floppy disks. Oh, yeah, sure. VTOL Freak. Yeah, absolutely. It works so well. It's just so reliable. It just kind of stands there. Ha ha. Jedi Mind Gorilla. I stood next to my ex-wife when she broke. I look stupid. There's something about my wife that when we go shopping, she doesn't have to see price tags. She intuitively knows the most expensive thing. Like she'll be like, that's the one I want. And we'll look at the price tags and it's like more expensive than everything else by like a factor of 10. When we're looking at Porsche 911s, she's looking at, the whole entire lots and all that and the lineups and doing the build your own Porsche thing. And she's like, I want that one. And I'm like, it's a Turbo S, which is the most expensive one they make. It's like $250,000. And she's like, yeah, that's the one I want. And I'm like, well, you can't even tell that it's extremely insanely fast relative to the rest. And yet you intuitively know that that's the one you want. That's just kind of bananas. Scott says wives are good at that. And I don't, she's just more spectacular at it than anybody else that I've ever seen. Same thing when we look at like floor tiles or anything housing related. She's like that one right there. Like, oh, you should be a interior designer or something, because she just instantly picks out the most expensive stuff. Oh, Supal DBA. okay, that's a good question. And I'll hit that only because I'm not going to be able to pull off a blog post in the next 10 minutes before I go downstairs and go grab my coffee. So Supal asked, what's the first performance issue that I faced and resolved, specifically SQL Server? So specifically SQL Server, I'm going to tell you about the first one that I remember. There may have been other ones as well. But the first one that I remember, the one where I went, okay, I'm actually going to be doing this for a living. And I've told this on some of my consulting or some of my training class stuff. So I was working as a kind of lead developer or lead architect kind of thing in Dallas for a consulting or for a hotel software company. And there were several of us in there. We didn't really have an official DBA. There were maybe like half a dozen developers. And all of us sat inside here in the conference room at one point. We're trying to figure out why our backups won't run faster. It sounds kind of stupid, but we were doing backups every 15 minutes, and the backups were taking longer than 15 minutes. So if you got backups scheduled every 15 minutes, and they take 16, then you just wait another 14 minutes, and then you pick up again 15 minutes later. Our SQL Server was basically always trying to catch up with transaction log backups. So we bang our heads against a wall with it for a while, and we end up bringing in the best consultant we could find in Dallas. It may not have been truly the best consultant. There may have been better ones. He was just the best one that we could find. And I say that specifically because there might be awesome SQL Server consultants in Dallas that we didn't know about, but it was just the best one that we could find at the time. And so we bring the person in. They're sitting in this conference room along with the rest of us, and we put the thing up, SQL Server up on the projector, and we're talking through, okay, so here's the problem that we're facing. The guy looks, and he's like, there must be a problem here. We're like, well, duh, obviously, that's why we brought you in. And he's like, no. I've never seen a SQL Server do that many transactions per second. And we're all like, wait, we suck. You're not saying that in a way that makes us comfortable. Because if you've never seen a SQL Server, thanks, welcome to the club. I assume that's probably like your radio tag. So if you've never seen a SQL Server do that many transactions per second, and you're the best SQL Server consultant we could find in Dallas, we're screwed. Because we have no idea what we're doing, and we've already gotten it to this point. So we say thanks and goodbye to the consultant because he was like, oh my God, I'm in over my head. And at that point, we look around the room and we're like, oh, we're on our own here. We're going to have to figure this out. And so eventually we figured it out by putting in Quest Lightspeed because it would compress the backups, and that took care of a really slow backup target. I say really slow. They were the fastest drives that we could buy at the time. Ham radio, that was the word I was looking for there. So that took care of by doing backup compression before it wrote the backup files over somewhere else. That tackled it. Exactly. It was like a total Martian moment where we're all just looking around at each other and going, oh my God, we are screwed. And at that moment also, I kind of had a radar bomb or thing go off in my head like, oh, I might be able to do this for a living. I don't actually suck as bad as I thought I did, because we all suffer from that imposter syndrome thing. We all feel like we're just like one page ahead of Google than everybody else. And that's why I also am such a firm believer in when you're thinking about becoming a consultant or a teacher, you want to find a picture of yourself in your office from a long time ago. I'll show you mine. So if I come back out of here, I'm going to say 2004 Brent picture, site brentozar.com. And I wrote a blog post about this because this is in that exact office building that I was in. This exact office building when I was facing that problem with, oh my God, I've never seen a server could do that many transactions per second. So this was me in 2004. I can remember all the books on my bookshelf. I've got in the full-size image, I can go through and I can remember, programming XML, writing your first stored procedure, the rocks. Andy says, I met that guy in 2018 in Seattle. I hadn't changed at all. I had not gotten one bit smarter. I remember I loved it. I remember the pictures on my desk. I remember the art fair that I got the pictures from. That guy is my target audience. That guy is who I write every blog post for, who I do every Twitch stream for. I am writing it for that guy who was opening the hood of SQL Server and amazed by the stuff that he was finding. He's like, oh my God, what? There's nothing in here but frogs and toadstools, who really I had no idea what was going on inside there. And I was in love with all of the pieces that I found inside there, that I was just mesmerized by how databases worked, and it all seemed like black magic. So that's really how I wrote all of my stuff, and I still do today. So the reason why I say that is that the all technology communities are a triangle. All technology communities are a triangle, or like a pyramid. There are a whole lot of people at level what you and I might call 100 or 200. There are progressively fewer at level 300 and 400. And you're always looking up. You're always looking higher on the triangle as you ascend it. You're always looking higher on the mountain. So you always think that oh my gosh, there are so many people ahead of me. There are so many people who know more than I do. No. Look backwards now and then, and you'll be stunned at how many people are behind you. If you write for yourself 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago and just document the stuff that you learned, you're going to help so many people. Another way that you can think about that is if you go to sites like dba.stackexchange.com and you start to look at which questions are coming up, there are always people who come in along behind you who are asking questions that you're like, oh my God, this is so obvious. Those are your customers. Those are the people who need your help. Carson says, have you followed along with the stack challenges with migrating to SQL 2019? Absolutely. Everything that Taryn Pratt writes, I go through and take the time to read. She's their database administrator. She's brilliant. She's humble. She's great at documentation. I can't say enough good things about Taryn and her blog. That is over, for those of you who haven't read it, TarynPivots.com. She goes through all kinds of details about the problems that they face over at Stack Overflow. Brilliant people. So, all right, so I'm going to take a second to thank our sponsor for this week. So my sponsor for this week is Quest Software. Quest is doing a webcast with me and Pinal. Speaking about imposter syndrome, Pinal and I both laughed a lot about Ask the Experts as a title for this webcast, because we don't really feel like experts. We always feel like we're just one page ahead of everybody else in the manual. But in this webcast, you can ask us whatever performance tuning questions that you want. We've already got a huge list of questions lined up. So that'll be free on June 24th at 12 noon Eastern. It won't be streamed live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, any of that stuff, and it won't be uploaded publicly, so you have to actually register. If you can't make it there, that's okay. They'll email you the recording, but you do have to actually go to brentozar.com/go/experts in order to see that one. It's a lot like the office hour stuff that I used to do with the rest of my team, where we would just go and take open questions and answers. So that is everything that we'll go through today. My coffee shop downstairs is getting ready to open up. It's give you the full-blown view. It is a beautiful day out there in San Diego. It's a little on the overcast side, but I'll be heading out there and go brave the outside, go do some coffeeing and bageling, and I will see y'all around. I am going to go bail. I'm going to go take the rest of my weekend off and go goof off now. So y'all don't work too hard, and I will see y'all later. Thanks for hanging out, and see y'all later. Adios.